I flourished after such a getaway with them genuine tales of forbidden romance. The journey to the Seychelles unfolded seamlessly, with the gentle hum of the engine merging with the soft murmur of conversations and the occasional chime of glasses. My son sat beside me, Oliver exuding confidence and poise as always, while Ryan leaned back in his seat, wearing an easy smile. I observed them both, a swell of pride and a pang of nostalgia surging within me in equal parts. They were my soul, my steadfast support amid the tempests of existence. 2 years had passed since Ron's departure. When the truth emerged, it crashed down like a tidal wave. He hadn't departed from me for another woman, not completely. Years of deceit had unfolded, with liaisons involving other men concealed behind the facade of our marriage. I had been caught off guard, but looking back, maybe there were indications all along. I opted to avoid them, immersing myself in my duties as a wife and even more significantly as a mother. Ryan and Oliver had been my anchors. As Ron quietly dismantled our marriage behind closed doors, they were busy constructing their lives, establishing their business, and carving out their own niches in the world. I have always held a deep admiration for their autonomy. They didn't require my presence in the same way that many children typically seek their mother's care. They were there for one another. But that didn't stop them from ensuring I never felt alone. Each Sunday dinner, each surprise visit, each little gesture. Those moments had carried me through the empty days following Ron's departure. The announcement of their gift, a trip to the Seychelles, took my breath away with its sheer surprise. I had never been adept at accepting gifts, yet the gleam in their eyes as they offered it left me with no alternative. "You've done so much for us, Mom," Ryan said, his voice a blend of youthful charm and heartfelt sincerity. "Allow us to indulge you just this once." And now here we found ourselves, descending into paradise. The villa sat gracefully on the brink of a sapphire ocean, its floor-to-ceiling windows revealing a view that felt like a distant dream come to life. The palm trees moved gently in the wind, their shadows playfully gliding over the pristine sand. "This is more than I ever could have envisioned," I murmured, as Ryan's arms wrapped around my shoulders. "It's perfect for you," Oliver said, standing by the window with his hands in his pockets, the corner of his mouth twitching into a smile. He always exuded a sense of calm control, yet the joy in his eyes was unmistakable. He felt a deep sense of pride in having led us to this place. The days unfolded like chapters in a cherished story. Each morning, we strolled along the beach, feeling the warm sand underfoot, with the ocean sprawling endlessly ahead of us. Evenings were devoted to savoring wine and sharing laughter, the distant sound of waves crashing. It was the sort of escape I hadn't recognized I craved until I found myself immersed in it. What captivated me most, however, was how our relationship appeared to evolve in this picturesque environment. We had always shared a strong bond, but now our conversations had taken on a fresh intensity, a newfound honesty that was both thrilling and gentle. I discovered insights about Ryan and Oliver that I hadn't known before, their fears, their dreams, the pressures they carried. It was a humbling experience to understand the extent to which they had restrained themselves, all to shield me and spare me from the feeling of being a burden. One night, as the sun sank beneath the horizon, painting the sky in shades of lavender and gold hues painted the sky as Oliver proposed a late swim. "Come on, Mom," he urged, his eyes glinting with playful mischief. "You've gazed at the ocean for quite some time now. Now is the moment to embrace it." I paused, casting a look at the water. Yet Ryan was already pulling at my hand. "We're not accepting no for an answer," he said, with a smile. Their excitement was contagious, and before long, we found ourselves stepping into the refreshing embrace of the ocean. The water gently caressed our surroundings, illuminated by the soft glow of the moonlight, shimmering across its surface like countless scattered diamonds. "This feels like liberation," I whispered, lifting my gaze to the heavens. The burden of history, the deceptions, the solitude, appeared to fade away into the boundless surroundings enveloping us. Ryan drifted alongside me, his voice gentle. "You truly deserve this, Mom. More than you realize." Oliver, always the more reserved of the pair, merely. He nodded, yet the expression in his eyes conveyed a wealth of unspoken thoughts. I sensed a change in that moment, a bond that transcended language. A deep understanding. That maybe we were something deeper than merely a mother and her sons. We were allies. Connected not merely by lineage, but by the collective experience of traversing a realm that frequently seemed excessively harsh, excessively unforgiving. Once we returned to the villa. We dried ourselves and convened on the balcony. The warmth of the air enveloped the scene, while the cicadas sang in harmony with the gentle whispers of the distant waves. Ryan poured another round of wine, his laughter ringing out as he shared a tale from their business days. I found myself captivated by them both. My heart swelling in a manner that nearly brought tears to my eyes. I cherished them with an intensity that was profound, more than I ever imagined I could. "Are you all right?" Oliver's voice pierced through my thoughts. He was observing me with that unwavering gaze of his, one that always felt as though it could see right through me. I nodded. A gentle smile gracing my lips. "I'm doing quite well. Thankful. For you too." Ryan leaned forward, a playful grin on his face. "Are you thankful enough to allow us to organize another adventure?" I chuckled, shaking my head in disbelief. "Let's get through this one first." As the night progressed, a profound realization began to dawn on me. After years of merely getting by, I finally felt a sense of thriving. I was alive, genuinely alive, and it was due to them. For the reason that they cherished me. As I came to understand with a bittersweet pang. My affection for them ran deep, in ways I was just starting to grasp. The eatery was situated at the island's edge. Its alfresco seating providing a seamless vista of the shimmering ocean under the moonlight. Gentle jazz floated through the air, intertwining with the rhythmic sound of waves breaking on the beach. Candles danced on each table, casting a warm, golden glow. It was a place that seemed to exist outside of time, an ideal backdrop for the three of us to unwind and just be ourselves. Oliver had, of course, selected the wine. He possessed a knack for selecting the ideal bottle, a skill he credited to his countless client dinners. "A Bordeaux," he declared with a teasingly formal tone as the waiter poured. "Opulent, intricate, and slightly elevated. Similar to me." Ryan scoffed, reclining in his chair. "Elegant, indeed. However, affluent. I'm the one managing the finances, don't forget." I chuckled, shaking my head as I savored a sip of the wine. It was rich and velvety, enveloping me in a comforting embrace from within. "Both of you are impossible," I said, but my voice was light, brimming with warmth. As the night progressed, the wine poured generously and the conversation became increasingly relaxed and intimate. We reflected on the past, recalling Christmas mornings filled with the delightful chaos of our living room, and road trips that inevitably led to some amusing mishap. However, we also discussed matters we hadn't addressed previously. "You were always so strong," Ryan said suddenly, his voice softer than usual. He leaned against the table, his glass gently held in his hand. "After Dad left, I was at a loss for how you managed it." The reference to Ron stirred the calm waters, yet I faced it head-on without hesitation. "Because of you as well," I stated plainly. "I couldn't break down when I had you both to look after." Oliver extended his hand and gently covered mine. "You've always looked after us, Diane," he said gently, his choice of my name intentional. Almost filled with respect. "Perhaps it's time we focus on your well-being." I blinked, taken aback by how my name flowed from his lips. It felt unusual, yet it was not unwelcome. I smiled, gently squeezing his hand. "You have both exceeded my expectations in ways I could never have imagined." Ryan lifted his glass, a crooked smile spreading across his face. To Diane, he proclaimed. The most formidable woman we know. Oliver laughed softly, raising his own glass. To Diane, he echoed, his eyes locking with mine for a moment longer than felt necessary. I chuckled, embracing the comforting embrace of the wine, and their heartfelt words enveloping me. Okay, I remarked, raising my glass. For us, the toast resonated as a vow. A subtle recognition of the connection we held. A connection that, even at this moment, was transforming in ways I couldn't fully articulate. When we finally made our way back to in the villa, the stars dominated the sky, their light shimmering on the ocean, creating an illusion of boundless possibilities. I was chuckling, my footing wobbly as Ryan assisted me up the stairs. The wine had flowed effortlessly, sending a warm buzz through me, and I found myself in a state of blissful lightheadedness, a carefree sensation I hadn't experienced in ages. You're drunk, Ryan teased, his arm wrapped around my waist to steady me. I am not, I protested, though my slurred words betrayed me. I'm just joyful. Oliver trailed behind us, holding my heels. His steps deliberate and unhurried. We ought to engage in this more frequently, he remarked, his tone reflective. Only the three of us. I glanced over at him, my head swirling a bit. You mean to outdrink me completely? He smiled, and for a fleeting moment, the intensity of his gaze left me breathless. I'm talking about sharing moments together. Just like this. We stumbled in, collapsing onto the spacious couch in the living room. The laughter erupted once more as Ryan shared an absurd tale from dinner. A waiter nearly stumbled over a candle. And I found myself leaning against him, my head gently resting on his shoulder. Oliver sat next to me, our knees brushing against each other. In that instant, surrounded by them, I understood that we had transcended the traditional roles of mother and sons. We were something extraordinary, something deeper, more connected. It was a mix of excitement and fear. I adore you both, I confessed, the words escaping before I could hold them back. So abundant. Ryan pressed his lips gently against the crown of my head. We cherish you as well, Diane. Oliver extended his hand, intertwining his fingers with mine. More than you realize. A moment lingered, a palpable stillness that enveloped the space. I turned to look at Oliver, and for the first time, I noticed how his eyes softened when they met mine, the way his thumb gently brushed over my knuckles in a gesture that felt far too intimate. Perhaps we ought to step outside for some fresh air, Ryan proposed, his voice carrying an unexpected depth. I nodded, appreciating the suggestion. Although I wasn't convinced that air would alleviate the tension that had settled between us. We transitioned to the balcony, the night air refreshing against my heated skin. The three of us stood together, gazing out at the vast, unending ocean before us. I sensed their presence flanking me, both grounding and intoxicating in a single moment. And then, as if compelled by an unseen force, we gravitated toward one another. Ryan was the first to step closer. His arms enveloping me in a hug that resonated more profoundly than any we had shared previously. Oliver joined, his embrace sealing the circle. I experienced their warmth and strength. And for a brief moment, I allowed myself to fully embrace it. As I gazed upward, our faces were near, uncomfortably near. My heart raced as I locked eyes with Oliver, then shifted to Ryan. The world seemed to freeze, with only the distant crash of waves breaking the silence. Diane, Ryan murmured, his voice soft and barely a whisper, as he gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. It was Oliver who made the first move, his lips grazing my temple in a way that felt both pure and suggestive. Ryan trailed behind, his kiss brushing softly against the edge of my lips. My breath caught, and for a fleeting moment, I lost the ability to think, to move. The barriers that separated us were fading, dissolving in the intensity of the moment. I was uncertain about the direction this was taking, yet I understood that there was no way to retreat. Not any longer. The atmosphere on the balcony was thick with unvoiced tension. A presence that enveloped you, gentle yet unavoidable. I focused on calming my breath, attempting to grasp the significance of the moment that had just unfolded. Ryan's hand rested softly on my cheek, his thumb gliding in a delicate curve across my skin, while Oliver's arm wrapped around my waist, anchoring me yet drawing me into an enigmatic embrace I couldn't fully comprehend. Perhaps we ought to, I began, yet the words stumbled, dissipating into the dense night atmosphere. What can I possibly express to ease the intense energy between us? Ryan tilted his head, observing me, as if he were trying to uncover the unspoken words lingering between us. You don't have to say anything, Diane, he murmured. His utterance of my name washed over me like a gentle wave, stirring up the depths of feelings I had long kept at bay. Oliver, increasingly silent yet undeniably there, cast a glance my way that left me perplexed. His hand glided down to settle on the small of my back, his touch firm and intentional. You're always worrying, he said softly, his voice imbued with a tenderness that both comforted and unnerved me. You are not obligated to. Not with us. A part of me longed to withdraw. To seek refuge in the comfort of my room and create space between us. Yet, there was another aspect, a profound, unvoiced element that felt tethered to them. I found myself unable to move. And perhaps I didn't truly wish to. The rhythmic crash of waves against the shore broke the silence between us, creating a backdrop for the emotions swirling in the stillness. I turned to face them fully, searching their faces for some semblance of reason, but all I found was that same openness, that same love I had always known. At this moment it seemed distinct. You're both too good to me, I finally admitted, my voice quivering under the burden of all the unspoken words. Ryan let out a soft, low chuckle that resonated gently in the stillness of the night. You truly deserve it, Diane. More than you realize. Oliver nodded, his gaze fixed intently on me. Our only desire is for your happiness. That is all we have ever desired. Their words enveloped me like a comforting hug, and for a brief moment, I allowed myself to surrender to their warmth. I released the burden of the past. The long years filled with solitude and uncertainty that Ron had cast aside. Being with Ryan and Oliver made me feel truly acknowledged, treasured in a manner that was nearly too much to bear. Within the villa, the atmosphere was subdued, illuminated solely by the soft glow of a small lamp perched on the bedside table. I sat on the edge of the bed. My hands clasped tightly in my lap as I endeavored to gather my thoughts. Ryan and Oliver entered behind me, their presence saturating the air with an undeniable energy. Ryan rested against the doorframe, his arms casually crossed over his chest. As Oliver settled into the chair opposite me, his posture was at ease, yet his eyes remained keen and observant. You're overthinking it again, Ryan said, shattering the quiet. His tone carried a playful edge, yet the warmth underlying it was unmistakable. I offered a slight smile, gently shaking my head. You understand me all too well. Certainly, we do, Oliver replied, his voice calm and unwavering. He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees as he looked at me with that same intensity that always left me feeling bare, exposed. We have always recognized you, Diane. Hearing my name again sent a shiver through me. It was a seemingly simple thing, yet the manner in which they expressed it felt deeply intimate and intentional. As if we were liberated from titles or roles, transcending into something profound, something unarticulated. Ryan leaned away from the doorframe and made his way across the room to take a seat next to me. His arm brushed against mine, the contact charged with an undeniable energy. Even in its sheer simplicity. We just want you to be happy, he said again, his voice gentler this time, as if it were the most significant truth in existence. I am happy, I whispered. Even as my voice trembled under the gravity of the moment. Oliver stood there, shifting to position himself in front of me. He extended his hand, gently cradling my cheek in a gesture so delicate it left me breathless. Are you? He asked, his voice a soft challenge. I nodded, yet the words eluded me. The words eluded me. trapped in the tempest of feelings that raged between us. Ryan's hand found mine, his fingers intertwining with mine in a gesture that felt both anchoring and personal. "Diane," he whispered, pulling my focus back to him. "You have consistently been our everything. You understand that, don't you?" Tears welled at the corners of my eyes, and I bit my lip to hold them back. I confessed, the words tumbling out before I had a chance to hold them back. "I don't know what I'd do without you." "Them." Oliver smiled then, a gentle, understanding smile that filled my heart with a bittersweet ache. "You won't ever need to discover that." In that moment, the barriers that separated us vanished completely. I was uncertain about what lay ahead, or how to find my way through this unfamiliar landscape we had inadvertently entered. As Ryan pressed a gentle kiss to my temple and Oliver's hand moved to rest against the curve of my neck, I felt a profound certainty wash over me. I was not alone. Not any longer. The night unfolded, the three of us ensnared in a delicate, exquisite limbo between the past we had departed and the future we were just starting to embrace. Insight. It was both terrifying and exhilarating, all at once. As I lay there with Ryan on one side and Oliver on the other, their warmth anchoring me to the present, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, perhaps this is the place I was destined to find. Alongside them. The journey concluded all too quickly. Yet it seemed as if the three of us had experienced a whole lifetime within those sun-soaked days. The Seychelles had cast its spell, enchanting not only our bodies but also weaving a deeper connection between us, one that I struggled to fully understand. As the aircraft ascended, as we journeyed back home, I glanced at Ryan and Oliver sitting next to me. They were chuckling at something, their voices soft and relaxed. It amazed me how significantly they had transformed in such a brief period. There was an ethereal lightness regarding them, an insight I had not encountered previously. And I sensed a change within myself as well. The Diane who had come to this island bore the marks of betrayal, and the weight of years. Isolation, her existence shaped by obligation and perseverance. However, the Diane coming back home now was brighter, glowing in a manner that even I couldn't refute. The way Ryan and Oliver looked at me, understated yet brimming with warmth and admiration, revealed that they recognized it as well. "You're glowing," Ryan said suddenly, leaning closer as if examining me under a magnifying glass. I chuckled, shaking my head in disbelief. "It's merely the tan," I joked even as the flush rose up my neck. "Deceived me." "It's not merely the tan," Oliver remarked, his voice unwavering yet imbued with an undercurrent. "Something more profound." His gaze lingered on mine for a moment, and within it, I perceived the same silent comprehension that had bound us since that initial evening on the shore. Life back home found its groove, yet it lacked the familiar essence. All felt more vibrant, more full of life. My mornings, once steeped in tranquil solitude, were now interrupted by the lively calls and visits from Ryan and Oliver. They had always been diligent in maintaining their connection, but now it felt altered. They didn't merely stop by. They stayed a while. Ryan shared the news about Elizabeth a week after our return. He arrived one evening, his demeanor steady yet determined. "I ended things with Elizabeth," he said as we sat on the porch watching the sunset. I lifted an eyebrow, though I wasn't completely taken aback. "You two appeared to be in good spirits," I remarked cautiously, gauging the atmosphere. He offered a slight shrug, his fingers drumming idly on the armrest of his chair. "We were, I suppose, but it fell short. After the trip, I came to understand that I was trying to make something happen that simply didn't resonate with me." I nodded, anticipating his next words. He turned to look at me then, his gaze unwavering. "It's difficult to articulate, Diane, but spending time with you and Oliver brought me back to what truly matters, what feels authentic." The way he pronounced my name ignited a comforting warmth within me, yet I set it aside, concentrating instead on the sharpness of his tone. "You deserve to be with someone who brings you joy," I said gently. "I already am," he replied, the weight of his words hanging in the air between us. I chose not to pursue the matter any further. We lingered in a serene quiet, the sun sinking beneath the horizon, as if it too grasped the unvoiced truths we held between us. Oliver had transformed as well. He immersed himself in the business with an intensity and resolve I had never witnessed before, yet he was mindful not to allow it to take over his life. He carved out moments for dinners at my place, for intimate conversations and strolls through the neighborhood. "You appear to have changed," I remarked one evening while we stood in the kitchen, washing dishes next to each other. "Good different or bad different?" he inquired, a subtle smile dancing on his lips. "Very well," I stated with conviction. "More realistic." He nodded, his smile gradually shifting into a more gentle expression. "That journey transformed everything," he confessed. "For everyone, I believe." I took my time to respond, allowing his words to linger in the air. "It did," I finally agreed, my voice barely above a whisper. Oliver placed the dish he was holding on the counter and turned to face me. "You're unique as well. You realize," he remarked, his voice soft yet firm. "It feels as though you've awakened." His words stirred something deep within me, yet I managed to maintain a smile. "Perhaps I do," I replied. The weeks transformed into months, and the shifts within each of us only grew more profound. I began to carve out more time for myself, uncovering aspects I hadn't recognized I had longed for. Creating art, nurturing plants, and sometimes indulging in a yoga session. My reflection in the mirror had become familiar. My sons observed that as well. "You look incredible," Ryan said one evening as we were leaving a family dinner. "Honestly, Diane, you radiate beauty." I laughed, dismissing his words. Yet the way he and Oliver shared a knowing glance revealed their sincerity. The connection we shared had transformed in ways that were both delicate and significant. We no longer conformed to the roles of mother and sons, but embraced something more fluid, more equal. They had become men, robust, confident, and passionately committed. Then I was finally allowing myself to be visible. One evening, as we gathered around the fire pit in my backyard, Oliver reclined in his chair, his eyes locked onto the dancing flames. "We should do another trip," he said casually, yet his tone conveyed something entirely different. Ryan smiled broadly, lifting his glass high. "I'm completely on board." I chuckled quietly, shaking my head. "You both are unstoppable." "We mean it," Ryan said, his voice adopting a serious tone. "These journeys, they bring to light what truly holds significance." Oliver nodded, his gaze locking onto mine. "You are important," he stated plainly. Tears pricked at the edges of my eyes, yet I held them back. Instead, I lifted my glass, a smile spreading across my face as I looked at the two men who had transformed into not only my sons, but also my anchors, my companions, my everything. "To us," I said, my voice unwavering even as the emotions surged within me. They raised their glasses in unison, their smiles radiating warmth and authenticity, much like the flickering firelight that played around us. As the night unfolded, a tranquility enveloped me that I hadn't experienced in years. We had traversed the flames side by side, emerging not only more resilient, but also filled with joy and a sense of liberation. The past lay behind us, while the future unfolded ahead, as radiant and limitless as the ocean we had departed from. We were home, and for the first time in ages, I felt a profound sense of belonging, as if we were precisely where we were destined to be.